Hello students, we are going to do the final part of chapter 2, Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom. This chapter is an extract from the autobiography of Nelson Mandela, the first black president of South Africa. Let me brief you what we read in the previous class before reading page number 22 and 23. We discussed about apartheid, which means apartness. It was a political and social system during the era of white minority rule. Country's majority black population was kept under the thumb of white minority. It was a barbarous and brutal political system. Under this system, the people were forced to live separately. They were treated differently. They cannot own property, only rented. They were placed in townships outside of the town. They were forced to carry passbook to enter white areas. They were given menial jobs in the farms, factories and gold mines. They were treated like slaves. Then we discussed about Nelson Mandela, who spent a lifetime fighting against apartheid. He spent 30 years in prison. Finally, democratic election was held in South Africa in 1994, and he became the first black president of the new nation. Mandela remembers and thanks the people who sacrificed their lives for the freedom from discrimination. He also remembers freedom fighters like Oliver Tambo, Walter Sisulu, Chief Lithuli, Yusuf Dadoo, Graham Fisher, and Robert Sobukwe for their courage, wisdom, and generosity. Mandela believes that every man has twin obligations in life. His first duty is towards his family. The second duty is to his people, community and country. In a civil society, each man has to fulfill these obligations. Now, moving over to page number 22. Here Mandela says, I was not born with hunger to be free. I was free in every way that I could know. Free to run in the fields near my mother's hut. Free to swim in the clear stream that ran through my village. Free to roast maize under the stars and ride the broad backs of slow-moving bulls. As long as I obeyed my father and abided by the customs of my tribe, I was not troubled by the laws of man or God. It was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion, when I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I began to hunger for it. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself, the transitory freedom of being able to stay out at night, read what I pleased, and go wherever I chose. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedom of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. Now let us discuss the word meanings here. What is melies here? Melies is corn. What is abided? Abided is obeyed. Customs? Customs is rituals. What is illusion? Illusion is something that appears to be real but is not. Discovered here? Found. Yearned, longed or craved. The phrase earning my keep, what does it mean? That means to pay for things that one needs. Obstructed, restricted. Now in this paragraph, the author did not have the plan to stand against the apartheid early in his life. He lived his childhood like any normal child in South Africa. He only had to follow the rules set by his father or the customs or rituals of his tribe. As soon as he grew up and began to learn the facts as to how people of color are treated, he decided to stand against it. He had his urge for freedom from inside. Earlier, just for himself, like staying out at night, etc., and later for having a basic life, not just for himself, but for everyone. In Johannesburg, they had to struggle for having a peaceful marriage, family, and even basic amenities which everyone has access to, where law and order exists. Now, moving on to the next paragraph, Mandela says, "But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. That is when I joined the African National Congress, and that is when the hunger for my freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self-respect that animated my life, that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove a law-abiding attorney to become a criminal, that turned a family-loving husband into a man without a home, that forced a life-loving man to live like a monk. I am no more virtuous or self-sacrificing than the next man. But I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. Freedom is indivisible. The chains on any one of my people were the chains on all of them. All the chains on all of my people were the chains on me." Now let us discuss the word meanings here. Here, what is dignity? Here, dignity is a quality of being worthy of honor or respect. Self-respect, respect for oneself. What is drove? Drove is here maid. Who is attorney? Attorney is a lawyer. Monk, who is a monk? He is a saint. What is virtuous? The one who has moral values. Indivisible, that cannot be divided. No. So what does Nelson Mandela says in this paragraph? He says he joined the African National Congress when he realized it is not only him whose basic rights were snatched away, but all those who looked like him. He had this fire inside him to free his people from this injustice. It was this fire that changed Nelson Mandela completely as a man, from being a scared to brave man, a lawyer to one breaking the law because he became the outlaw, a family man to a man without a home. That's why he called himself as a monk, and living a life without being a man into being a monk. It was the knowledge that he and his people have restricted freedom that made him into a selfless man as opposed to before. According to him, freedom cannot be divided. Snatching it away from someone was equivalent to taking it away from everyone, and that meant taking it away from Nelson Mandela. In the last paragraph, he says, I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow-mindedness. I am not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken from me. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. Now let us discuss the word meanings here. Who is an oppressor? Oppressor is one who tortures. What do you mean by liberated? Free. Prejudice, a strong dislike without any good reason. In the last paragraph, he mentions that the need to free the oppressor is as high as that of the oppressed, because the oppressor is bounded by the shackles of hatred. He has the weight of all the people whom he has tortured, for he carries the curse of all of their families. For taking away someone else's freedom and making them a prisoner, he becomes a prisoner of biasness, unfairness. Thus, he is robbed of his humanity and needs to be freed. Hence, Nelson Mandela had a wider vision of humanity. For him, freedom was comprehensive and cannot be divided. With this, we come to the end of part 5 of chapter 2, Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom. Thank you for watching this video.